To win in fantasy baseball, you know you need some aces on your staff. But when it comes to the later rounds of your draft, it's time to find those diamonds in the rough, those hidden gems. Well, here are a few young pitchers that I think could turn into aces sooner than expected. If you can't wait for draft season, guess what? You don't have to. Join Underdog Fantasy and you can draft right now for MLB Best Ball for the 2024 season. They've got some new contests that just opened up. Check them out right now. If you sign up and use promo code Endgame, you get a 100% deposit match for your first $100 that you put into your account. Try Underdog Fantasy today. The Seattle Mariners have a rotation that I'm going to be very heavily invested in fantasy this year, both early and late. You already know about Luis Castillo, Logan Gilbert, George Kirby. They're all going fairly early in drafts. But then there's a couple of young pitchers who are going to be starting every fifth day. And between the two, I prefer Bryan Woo. Now, don't get me wrong, before I get into why I like Woo, and I'm going to draft him a lot this year, I do like Bryce Miller. And, some people are actually really enthused by the fact that he's tinkering with his pitch mix, he's adding something new, but that also is what worries me, is that it might take him some time to figure things out. I think that's kind of where he is. This year, I think Bryce Miller will still be a little up and down. I really like him long term, but for redraft, I'm going to stick with Woo because he knows what he is, and he's a guy who relies on his fastball. If you break down Woo's pitch mix, it's fastball, it's sinker, it's cutter, and then the occasional slider and change. He doesn't necessarily have a wipeout slider or any breaking ball that's going to confound hitters, but all of his pitches that he throws regularly have a whiff rate over 20%. But with him, it's really not a matter of figuring out what pitch to throw and when. He already kind of knows what he's doing. It's just a matter of locating better and just being more consistent. That comes with experience, and that's it. Now, if there's a downside to Woo, which is why he's being taken later in drafts, and it's the fact that he is not going as deep into games because he's a younger pitcher. They're probably being a little careful with him last year. But as we've seen with Seattle, they're not going to hold back once they know what they've got. They let a lot of their starters go longer than most teams do. Last year, Woo made 18 starts, but over those starts, he averaged less than 5 innings per start. I think that number does jump up this year. He'll be more consistent, be able to get more wins, so I'm not too worried. I think that's something that will improve with his experience. And if you're worried about wins, he's on a very competitive team. Seattle should be able to get plenty of victories for him, just like they did with the first 3 guys I already mentioned in their staff. Now, another young-ish pitcher who's not quite as exciting, but you know what? He's going to be really solid because he's been that already. That's Bailey Ober in Minnesota. He's not the kind of pitcher that will blow hitters away or blow fantasy owners away, but sometimes consistency in the later part of the draft is good enough. He is actually being drafted earlier than Woo. Most of the pitchers I'm going to talk about here are going after pick 200 on average, at least right now. Ober's a little bit earlier, maybe around 160 as of right now, because he's slightly more of a known commodity than some of these other picks. Now, before I get to the good stuff, let me say why is Ober being drafted later, because didn't end the season on really a high note, got sent down late in the year, came back up, and then was used no more than 5 innings per start. And that's because he kind of ran into a home run problem. Not that he was giving up a ton, but he wound up giving up 22 home runs in 26 starts. Not terrible, but that actually got worse as the season went on. He was giving up at least 1 per start, and then after one particularly bad start where he gave up 5 runs in 4 innings, that's when he got optioned and then came back up and was just kind of held back a little bit by the staff. Now, there should be a role for him definitely in this rotation, and even though he doesn't put elite strikeout numbers, what I love is that he's got great control. He actually should have posted better K rate because he's got a 15.2 swinging strike rate. That's a great indicator of success in terms of generating strikeouts, and only a 5% walk rate. You always start by looking at a pitcher's ratios. What is his ERA, both majors and minors, and his resume, but you have to look deeper, look at the peripherals, and you can see that he is bound to improve. I think he will. He's got a good pitch mix as well. He's changed it a little bit from last year. He kind of dialed back using his curve and his slider and increased his changeup usage. That actually didn't work for him, and so I wonder if he adjusts back to what was working better, if they've talked him through this. I'm sure they have in the offseason, and that time he spent back down in the minors. He could see his numbers jump up dramatically. Now a very young pitcher who really doesn't need a lot of help, but he's going to get anyways because Ryan Pepiot is in Tampa now. And I think that's all I need to say. Tampa, pitchers, that's a good combination. In his limited time with the Dodgers last year, Pepiot was already really good. 2.14 ERA, 0.76 whip. Of course, that only came across 42 innings, but we didn't see any of those lumps that a lot of young pitchers take. And when Tampa covets a player, then you know that there's a reason for that. They see what they can work with. Pepiot doesn't really need a lot of work, and now he's in that environment. Great park factor, playing in that dome for half the season on a staff that you know is going to help him out, and he's going to be in the rotation. Now, typically Tampa doesn't give a super long leash to their starters, so that's the only concern here, is not just his youth but also his new situation. Great for his ratios, but maybe he's not going to hit a really high inning pitch total this season, but he can still rack up wins and strikeouts. So I think in the end, it's worth it. This is why he can't be, toward the front end of your rotation for fantasy, but that's okay. Right now, he's being drafted after pick 200. And again, it's the control here that I love. In those 42 innings in the majors last year, he only walked 5 batters. We know what Tampa preaches to their pitchers. It's attack early, throw first pitch strikes. Pepiot already does that, his mark above league average, and he's going to get even better at that. Look, he's somebody who throws a fastball over the plate. He doesn't nibble. He doesn't make batters try to chase all the time. He attacks. He also follows up with a changeup that goes down and away from right-handed batters. It's a slider that really needs a little bit more consistency. It's kind of all over the place if you look at a heat map from last year. And again, this is a guy who has plenty of room to grow. And so if he gets the slider to be more of a whiff pitch, then sky's the limit. Now, you'd think that one of the biggest free agent signings among starting pitchers would be going higher in drafts, especially going to a team like the Cubs. But Shota Imanaga is being drafted very late because an unknown commodity, let's face it. We don't know exactly how his game will transfer to the United States in the majors and playing in Wrigley. This is a guy who's more of a fly ball pitcher. He doesn't have really a lot of heat on that fastball, averages about 92, and he's kind of an undersized lefty. And so we really don't see as high a ceiling for him. But what is the appeal here? It's control. Based on his results in Japan and also in the World Baseball Classic, which Japan won, and he was the pitcher in that deciding game, don't forget. He grades out as 70 on command, and this is someone who doesn't really have to rely on the fastball because he's got a nice 4-pitch mix where he can keep batters off balance. That's why last year in Japan, he held his ERA to 2.80, 174 strikeouts, only 24 walks, and that was across 148 innings. Sure, there will be an adjustment period. Sure, he might have his ups and downs, especially when the wind is blowing out in Wrigley. And so I would say there are some times where you might want to sit him if the weather's not particularly good for a pitcher that day, if he's facing a very heavily right-handed lineup, or if he's just not having control of the fastball that particular day, which is going to be hard to predict. But still, yeah, he will have some starts that don't work out, but still, in all, at the end of the day, think his ERA is going to help you, as is his whip. Now, the Boston Red Sox actually have a couple of different candidates that make sense here. They always have some intriguing pitchers that we really don't know what to expect because we really don't know how this rotation will even look. Are they going with a 5-man rotation, a 6-man rotation? Who's going to make the cut? Well, I will say a guy like Tanner Houck is always interesting, but always really hard to project. Same thing with Garrett Whitlock. Is he going to be in the bullpen or not? Is he going to be better in the bullpen? And those two guys, I'm kind of just done guessing with. But Cutter Crawford is someone I feel very confident will hold down a starting job for the entire season, and I think he'll be effective. Crawford made 23 starts last year, and I think he's going to make more than that. He was fairly effective, keeping his ERA just over 4 and a 1.11 whip. He's able to strike out batters about 1 per inning. He also is still on the young side. I really like his stuff because he's got a 6-pitch mix, and yes, that includes a cutter, and that's one of his more effective pitches. He mainly goes with the 4-seamer and the cutter, but he also will throw 5 pitches that rank as above average according to Eno Sarris's Stuff Plus ratings. Now, I will say I don't necessarily think that Crawford has what it takes to be a breakout, a star player, maybe an ace. That's going a little bit far. But again, I'm looking at someone who's essentially free this is a pitcher that's really not getting drafted in every 12-team league, and you can get him at the very end of drafts. And so why not take a chance on a guy who's going to put up fairly good total of innings, should help you in ratios across the board. I do think Boston will be better this year. Whether you play in a league that uses wins or quality starts, either way, I think he can be a solid late rotation option. And then this is also the perfect time to mention somebody who's going to be an injury discount, and that's Trevor Rogers for the Marlins. So the obvious starting pitcher is Marlins. Yeah, it usually works out. But there's also the fact that Trevor Rogers, if you remember, it wasn't that long ago, he was an all-star. In 2021, he was dominant over the first half of the season. He was the best waiver wire pickup basically in fantasy because absolutely nobody saw this coming or drafted him. He posted a 2.64 ERA. And then next year, he was a bust because the wheels completely fell off, wound up more than doubling that to a 5.47 ERA in the season. And it wasn't because of injury. He just stopped locating the ball well. The four-seamer just wasn't as effective for whatever reason. Somehow it went from a plus 16 run value in 21 to a minus 11 the following year. That's a massive swing for a pitch that was his best pitch that suddenly turned into his worst pitch. And again, it's not because it got slower. He just kept putting it over the heart of the plate and hitters were ready to tee off on it. And then last year he thought maybe he could bounce back, but he made all 4 starts and then was out for the entire season. It's been really a roller coaster for his career in the majors. You look at his career WOBA, and then you can see that ride you're taking on. Which way will he go this year? Well, I can't say I know, but I do know he should have a rotation spot locked up if he's healthy because Sandy Alcantara out for the season. And you know that the Marlins always in trade talks because they just can't hang on to good young players for long. There might be even more room cleared up in that rotation if they wind up parting with guys like Jesus Luzardo, who a lot of contenders would want. Rogers is a type of pretty much low-risk draft pick you can make in the final round. He's a dart throw, sure. If he pays off, it could be huge for you. If not, you just cut ties after April's over, and then you don't look back. Those are some pitchers that could be late-round gems, and if you want to know the same for hitters, well, I already got you covered. You check that video out right here.